What up, guys? Hope you're all doing well. We'll see if YouTube puts me in the algo. If they enjoy me, don't listen to me opening this. It's just multitasking, I guess. I'm gonna wait for a second before we get some views in. We're gonna essentially read some papers on, I would say, perceived. I mean, we're not gonna do 1984 because that's retarded. But we're gonna read some papers on people talking about, you know, like privacy and anonymity back, like as far as we can go before it becomes like, you know, they're just schizophrenic. I know a lot of people like to talk about George Orwell and it's 1984, but it's kind of boring because I've seen people kind of break it down. It's just good writing. It's not really anything more than that. And I mean, the parts of it wasn't really off, in terms of some form of surveillance. I mean, surveillance has always been a thought. It's just different types of society don't care. People, I think we were slowly being trained to not care and say I have nothing to hide. And now, if you go even farther back, you could say if you were to speak about privacy like this, you would essentially be labeled schizophrenic or crazy, and then people are with all the leaks and the Snowden leaks and everything, if you're oh, your phone's listening to you, you're being tracked, no, you're not, you're crazy kind of thing. And then we had somewhat of awakening, oh, we now know, but we don't care, I have nothing to hide. And I don't know if it's a specific thing that has led people to think like that. Of course, you have things to hide. You have, a bank account. You have lots of things to hide. It doesn't have to be necessarily illegal. It doesn't matter if you're a boring person. No one cares if you're boring. What they do care is hackers, nation states, governments, whatever. They like when people think like this because then they don't put any form of thought into their physical or digital security. And that's not good, You wouldn't leave your bike unlocked when you leave your house. And I would say even, this is how people view recording in public. We're people get uncomfortable, but you're recorded all the time and you don't do anything about it until you see the camera in your face, and then people have an issue. But I mean, you're quite literally being recorded at all times. CCTV cameras, Walmart, you name it. All the above. All these things that make you unique. Just a thought. And I think people are starting to wake up to it. To a certain degree. It's not perfect. I don't think it's ever going to be perfect. I think people are always going to have a perception that, why should I care if I think about this, why should I care? If there's nothing I can do, which there are things you can do. I'm pretty optimistic with a lot of things. I'm optimistic in the sense that I guess that what's the word I'm looking for? I'm optimistic in the sense that we there's a lot of tools that are being made that allow people to stay anonymous and more well pseudo anonymous or anonymous or however you want to look at it. I think we forget that people out there do care about this and they make tools to make sure that it stays relevant. Hmm. But I digress. We're gonna read some papers. We're gonna discover stuff. We're gonna think. Those are all good things to do. Damn. Damn, son. Okay. Just give me like 1 minute. Maybe because I'm on YouTube that. Oh yeah, because it doesn't send out notifications. Might have to do that. Hmm. Maybe I should do some automation. All right. All right, and then I got I2P back up. It's always fun finding sites. All right. Permission to copyright free. Okay, this part. Cool. Alright, okay. I'm done ignoring you, chat. I apologize. I had to do something before my autism kicked in and thought about it. Okay, untrace. Let's see. Up to cryptography. I came across this. I haven't read it yet, but it looked interesting because the title is Untraceable Electronic Mail, Return Addresses, and Digital Pseudo-Anonymous. This was written in Communications of the ACM, February of 1981, Volume 24, number 2. Which is very based. Very cool. And kind of cool that, I mean, there's tons of papers where they kind of figured out, like, oh, yikes, we're probably not heading in the right direction. But the problem with people predicting the future, they're kind of like just shooting. I say they're shooting with intent. I don't think that they're I don't think. I don't necessarily think that it's always like they knew it was going to happen. They kind of like maybe educate a guess. But I think it's a cool learning tool. It's a cool learning experience, and you get to see how people thought back then in their perspective, especially like with the lack of the as widely adopted as the internet wasn't. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Yeah, YouTube doesn't notify. YouTube doesn't really notify anything. I don't know if it's a me thing or notifications things or if it's a YouTube thing. It's kind of interesting about the notifications that YouTube decides to do and or not put out. All right. Untraceable Electronic Mail, Return to Address, and Digital Pseudonyms by David Chanham. David Chan? Okay. Permission to copy without fee or all part of the material is granted provided by the copies are not made. Okay, whatever. This work was partially supported by the National Science Foundation under Grant MCS 752739 and by Tech Air Force Office of Scientific Research under the contract F49620-9 C0173. Authors present address Computer Science Division, Electrical Engineering, and Computer Science Department. Yeah, I think people forget that a lot of stuff, a lot of like computer science back then, like was people that were like fucking nerds. What up, Billy? Untraceable Electronic Mail, Return Address, and Digital Pseudonyms by University of California, Berkeley. Abstract. A technique based on public key cryptography is presented that allows an electronic mail system to hide who participant communicates with and as well the content of the communication, in spite of unsecure underlying telecommunication systems. The technique does not require a universally trusted authority. One correspondent can remain anonymous to a second, while allowing the second to respond via an untraceable return address. This technique could also be used to form rosters of untraceable digital pseudonyms for selected applications. Applications retain the exclusive ability to form digital signatures corresponding to their pseudonyms. Elections in which any interested party can verify that the ballots have been properly counted and are possible if anonymously mailed ballots are signed with the pseudonyms from a roster of registered voters. Although other use allows an individual to correspond with record-keeping organization under unique pseudonyms, which appears a roster of acceptable clients, keywords and phrases, electronic mail, public key crypto systems, and digital signatures. Windows 11 being slow, making me feel disgusted. Are you using Windows 11? Keywords, public crypto systems, digital signatures, traffic analysis, and security and privacy. It's really not that long, actually. I'm watching this on Gen 2. Okay, good. As you should. Yeah, FreeBSD and Arc just don't work together, and it kind of sucks. But apparently, hardened BSD might, there might be some configuration I can do to make it work on my GPU, which would be based. I gotta be doing some tinkering. Okay. Cryptology is the science of secret communication. Cryptographic techniques have been providing secrecy of messages content for thousands of years. Recently, some new solutions to key distribution problem, the problem of providing each communicant with a secret key, has been suggested under the name of public key cryptography. Nice. Another cryptographic problem, the traffic analysis problem, the problem of keeping confidential who conserves with whom and when they converse, will become increasingly important with the growth of electronic mail. This paper presents a solution to the traffic analysis problem that is based on a public key cryptography. Brian has solved the traffic analysis problem of networks 1, but requires each participant to trust the common authority. In contrast, systems based on the solution for advance here can be comprised only by subversion and conspiracy of all the set authorities. Ideally, each participant is an authority. That's kind of interesting because if you think about it, they did kind of see that the rise of electronic mail reduces probably that. Encrypted email client when? For real. We could even do like the going through the history of encryption, which would be kind of interesting and fun to read about. I'll definitely get back on the this learning C grind after my brain correlates more memory to kind of lock in. I thought you fixed the restream delay. Now you're just directly streaming to YouTube. Sometimes I switch between Restream and YouTube because I want to see it's kind of like an experiment. I want to see what YouTube favors more. I wonder if YouTube bottlenecks and suppresses my streaming because they know it's not coming directly from YouTube. It's like a third-party client versus like what's the suggestion and retention rate on just doing it on just YouTube. Because I don't get a lot of I look at my stats for Kick and Twitch, and it's not as much, but I do like to stay as agnostic as possible because the problem is if I rely too much on YouTube, and if YouTube decides to bomb my channel for whatever reason because I say too many funny words, the issue then becomes where do I go again? Do I make another channel and go through the headache of regrowing it again and finding getting all the subscribers and all the watch time back, or do I just hopefully diversify enough that if YouTube disappears, it's not lost? And I do encourage people to steal my content and archive it and share it on other platforms like PeerTube. If I decide that I want to make host another PeerTube server, that's where I'm going to put a lot of my content just for archival purposes and nothing else. I might not allow I might allow sign up but no posting besides my content, just so that other people. I mean, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure yet. I haven't decided. Networks. Okay. The following two sections. Okay. Underlying the public key. Come to a purpose with whom. This paper presents a solution to traffic analysis of basic public key, trusted common authority, and contrast systems. The following two sections introduce the notation and the assumptions. Then the basic concepts are introduced for some special cases involving a series of one or more authorities. The final section converts all general-purpose mail networks. Notion: someone becomes a user of a public key crypto system like that of Rivest, Shamir, and Adleem. Adleem? Okay. Oh, no more math. Oh, by creating a pair of keys K and K is of K and inv K. Yeah, he's retarded. I have a retarded cat too. Motherfucker just be out there eating anything he wants. Damn it, get that out of your mouth. Motherfucker out here playing with plastic. Like a moron. Someone becomes a user of a public key crypto system like that of Rivest, Shamir, and Adleem by creating a pair of keys K and inv K. From a several random generated seed, the public key is K, is made known to the other users or anyone else who cares to know it. The private key, like private key, is never divulged. Divulged, yeah. The encryption of X with key K will be denoted KX, and is just the image of image of X under the mapping implemented by the cryptographic algorithm using key K. This increases the utility of these algorithms over conventional algorithms results because the two keys are inverse to each other. In the sense that in K, K, X equals K, in K, X equals X. The message X is sealed with a public key, K, so that only the holder of the private key, K, can discover its content. If X is simply encrypted with K, then anyone could verify a guess that X equals Y by checking whether KY equals KX. This threat can be eliminated by attaching a large string of random bits R to X before encrypting. The sealing of X with K is then denoted. With KRX, a user signs some material X by preparing a large constant C, all zeros for example, and then encrypting it with its private key denoted in K C X equals Y. Anyone can verify that Y has been signed by the holder of InvK and determining that the sign matter X by formatting KY equals C X and checking for C. This sounds just like PGP, guys. Lots of Ks, lots of Ys, lots of math, which, you know, I get why nerds like this shit because they're like math, but digital. Assumptions. Assumptions taken here is based on two important assumptions. No one can determine anything about correspondence between a set of sealed items and the corresponding set of unsealed items, or create forgeries without appropriate, what up, Bill? Appropriate random string or private key. Anyone may learn the origin, destinations, and representation of all messages in the underlying telecommunication systems, and anyone may inject, remove, or modify messages, mail systems. The user of the cryptographic system will include not only the correspondence, but a computer called a mix that will process each item of mail before it's delivered. A participant prepares a message M for delivery in a participant at the address A by sealing it with the address's public key KA. Appending the address A, then the sealing a result of which the mix is public key is key 1. The left hand side of the following expression denotes this item which is input to the mix. K1, R1, KA, R0, MA, KA, R0, MA. The denotes transformation of the input by the mix into the output shown on the right-handed side. The mix decrypts its input with the private key, throws away random string R1, and then outputs the remainder. One might imagine a mechanism that forwards the sealed message KAR0M of the output address, who then decrypts them with their own private keys. The purpose of the mix is to hide the correspondence between items in its input and those in its output. The order of arrival is hidden by outputting the uniformly sized items in lexicography ordered batches by assumption one above. There needs to be no concern about a cryptanalytic attack yielding the correspondence between the seals of items of a mixed input and its unsealed output. If its items are not repeated, however, if it's just one item is repeated, then the input and allowed to be repeated into the output. Then the corresponding is revealed for that item. Thus, an important function of the mix is to ensure that no item is processed more than once. The function can be readily achieved by a mix of particular batch by removing redundant copies before the output of the batch. If a single mix is used for multiple batches, then one way that repeats across batches can be detected is for the mix to maintain a record of items used in the previous batches. Records can be discarded once a mix changes its public key by, for example, announcing the new key in a statement signed with its old private key. A mix not needs to remain previous batches of its part each random string R1 constraints something, such as a timestamp. This is the only valid for the particular batch. If a particular gets signed receipts for messages, it submits to a mix. Then participants can provide substantial evidence that the mix failed to output an item properly. Only a wrong participant can supply the recipient X or recipient Y in K, C, K1, R1, more math. The missing output, and then retained strings R1, such that as K1. K1R1X because a mix will assign each output batch as a whole. The absence of an item X from the batch can be sustained by a copy of the signed batch. The use of cascade or series of mixes offers the advantage that any single constituent mix is able to provide the secrecy of a corresponding between the inputs and the outputs of the entire cascade. Incrimination of particular mix of a cascade that failed to properly process an item is accomplished as within a single mix, but can only requires a recipient of the first mix of the cascade, since a mix can use the signed output of its predecessor to show the absence of an item from its own input. The item is prepared for a cascade of n mixes, the same as for a single mix, and it's then successively sealed for each succeeding mix. Take a drink, take a shot every time I say the word mix, guys. You will be dead by the end of this letter. All right. Return addresses. The technique just described allows participants X to send anonymous message to participant Y, which is needed now. What is needed now is a way for Y to respond to X while still keeping their identity of X secret from Y. A solution for this, for X to form an untraceable return address, K1R1AX at KX, where AX is its own real address, KX. Do you feel like people are more conscious of privacy nowadays comparison to previous years? No. I think it's... Well, let me rephrase that. I was saying this in the beginning. I think people are more aware of it now, but they care less. Like, they don't care as much. Because you can just talk to, like, the average person, and obviously, like, these are anecdotal things, but, like, if you talk to the average person and you look at, like, maybe, like, certain reports, people acknowledge that privacy is a problem, but we don't care. I would say we even almost care less to a certain degree. It depends which generation you talk to. The younger generation cares less because, I mean, people are literally posting TikTok of them just doing dances, like, consistently. They're not worrying about their digital footprint. They're literally trying to become, like, TikTok famous, quote unquote. I mean, that's its own problem. A lot of people aren't they don't private their accounts. I mean, this is why, you know, tons of fucking people they say dumb shit online, they get fired. I think people are aware of privacy more now. I think they just care less. Because they're like, but look, I can become an influencer, guys. Guys, I can become an influencer. Please, just let me have my influencer. And I mean, we have more access to cameras now. Surveillance contracts in states are becoming far and far worse, and people care less. I mean, just go down your street and look how many people have a Ring doorbell. And they kind of know. I think that people are kind of aware that these are not private. They're like, guys, I get to know when my Labubu was fucking delivered with my pizza when I'm not home. So I think people were more aware of the privacy problems back then, and they were more proactive with it. And now, and I think we're more aware now, and how would I word this? People were aware back then and more proactive on keeping stuff private, and we are even more aware now, and we're less proactive with how we handle it. No, it's not on the company sides, because you got to remember that no one forces you to be on TikTok. It's your choice. And if you think about it, there are tools that you can make your stuff less public. You don't have to have a public Facebook. You don't have to have like a public Twitter. You don't have to have a public TikTok. You don't got to put your face in everything. You don't got to record everything and upload it. There is some self-responsibility. I agree, but we're blaming everything on the company. It's like, just, I hate to say it, you can so this isn't like the equivalence of like move into the woods, throw out your phone, and be like, but what would be the purpose of making everything so transparent about your life? You know what I mean? And these companies, if they become more private conscious, they lose money. Advertisers don't want privacy; they want They want publicity. They want ad revenue. They want to mine your data. They want everything to be public because it's easier to collect and easier to sell. There's no money to be made in privacy. In to be honest, and I don't mean that as like a meme. Companies can make money in privacy, but there's no money for free services to exist and make it and be private. It's just not possible. Imagine if YouTube got rid of its ad model. How else would it collect money? And its ad model is based on the fact that people publicly post stuff and give over their data. But it's complicated. It's a social thing. I think the internet has there's good things about the internet, and there's bad things about the internet. There's good things, yeah, I guess. I don't know what I don't know what IGU stands for, but I'm going to say I guess. It's a complicated, slippery slope that it becomes very philosophical. Yes, if people want to participate in society, they feel they're going to go towards trends that make them feel. Oh yeah, I get you. Okay. People are going to want to have some form of connection, so of course they're going to go to platforms that are the biggest. I mean, I know fucking adults, like grown, fucking old, well past their 40 adults that have TikTok. Because their friends have it, their kids have it. It sucks. It's not the direction I wanted to go, but I mean, the irony of the point of my YouTube channel is to push people to more private. Like, I want my subscriber channel subscribes to hit a huge number, and then people are like, fuck this, and then go somewhere else. That'd be awesome. Like, find an alternative platform, etc., etc. Like, if I hit, say, 50K, 100K, and they're like, you know what? Fuck this place. I'm going home. Like, I embrace it. I embrace people finding alternative options out there. I want to grow on YouTube and other platforms, and then subsequently everyone fucking pour out of YouTube. Unless YouTube corrects everything and becomes a more private, better platform and not a shithole. But it's hard. There's no good other platform out there. And I mean that. PeerTube's cool, but it's got problems. Odyssey's a shit show. Rumble is just a giant ad, and it's way too political for me. It's actually dog shit. I don't like Rumble. BitChute's it's just schizophrenic MLMs. And I know people are like, oh, you can just find whatever you want on there. But like, that's not when I go into the For You page, that's not the driving that's not the driving factor. I don't want to go I mean, Twitter's already a shithole, but goddamn, man, Rumble's really up there. Kick is just a bunch of gamblers. Kick is gambling for people that couldn't be on Twitch and gamble, so they just made a gambling site so you can watch other people gamble and play like Call of Duty and Fortnite. It's a complicated thing. YouTube built such a good product and it was so dominant for so long that it's really, really hard for anyone to compete with it. I mean, you can make the same user interface, but you can't bring, like, why would Mr. Beast leave? Why would PewDiePie leave? Mental Outlaw could have left YouTube a long time ago and just went straight into Odyssey. Why hasn't he? You know, I could even point to, like, the people that are, like, because it's hard. It'd be hard to do that on a platform like that and not be able to financially sustain yourself. Like, if you get more traffic and views through YouTube and you get more ad revenue through YouTube, why would I go to another platform where I make less financially and I get less views and I get to do, that's just less work. More work and less pay, essentially, is what you're doing with these. I don't even know what's the top earner on Odyssey. And then they picked a shit cryptocurrency. Like a bunch of fucking losers. And the top earners on fucking Rumble are like practically the owners and like talk show hosts that are already making millions of dollars. So not really my cup of tea. I'm pretty sure Kick just hires people that already have money and gambles. Whew. All right. Damn, I really gotta start doing that. The mix uses a string of bits R1 that finds. This mix uses the string of bits R1 that finds after decrypting the address part K1R1X as a key to re-encrypt the message part. Only the address X can decrypt the resulting outputs because X created both R1 and KX. The mix must not allow address parts to be repeated for the same reason that items on regular mail must not be repeated. This means that X must supply Y with a return address for each item in the mail, which is X to receive. Also notice that the conventional as opposed to public key cryptography could be used for both encryptions of M. With a cascade of mixes, the message part is prepared is the same for the single mix, and the address part is shown in the following input: K1, R1, K2, R2, some string of numbers. The result is the first mix: K2, R2, K1, string of numbers, and the final result of the remaining mixes, blah, blah, blah. Math. Untraceable return addresses allow the possibility of certified mail. They can provide the sender form of anonymous letter with a receipt, assisting the fact that the letter appeared interact in the final output batch. The address A that is incorporated into the certified letter is expanded to include not only the unusual address of the recipient, but also the untraceable return address for the sender. When this return address appears in the output batch of the final mix, it is used to mail the sender a signed receipt which includes the message as well as the address which it was delivered. Receipts might be signed by each of the mix. Man, I'm not gonna lie, I would love to just experience email 100 forever ago. However long ago. That'd be so sick. Just sending an email on a fucking laptop or computer from 1992 or something, or 95. 86, 76, 78, whatever email came out, just to be waiting and be oh my god, I got email. Guys, I've been sitting here pressing refresh for 40. I wonder what the first email was sent. I know you had to buy vouchers or something. The first email ever sent was in 1971 by American computer programmer Ray Tomlinson while working on the ARPANET system, the precursor to the modern internet. He sent the message to himself as a test using a simple string of letters from the top row of the keyboard. This experiment marked the first time a message was successfully sent between different computers on the network. A breakthrough fundamentally changed the digital communication. Tomlin also introduced the use of the @ symbol to separate user names and the machine's name, a convention that remains standard in email just today. Oh, damn. He's still alive? Oh, no. He died in 2016. R.I.P., man. It must have been so cool to send yourself the first email, and now everyone fucking hates email. Like, everyone, they're like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm fucking waiting to get this email. Man, R.I.P. But kind of cool. Imagine just sending your first email to yourself. Now I gotta look at Excel sheets. Why is this email not working? I hate email too. Interesting, okay. There we go. Why? Digital pseudonyms. A digital pseudonym is a public key that verifies signatures made by the anonymous holder of the corresponding private key. A roster, or list of pseudonyms, is created by an authority that decides which application for pseudonyms to accept. This is unable to trace the pseudonyms in the complete roster. The application may be sent to the authority anonymously by untraceable mail, for example, or they may provide it in some other way. The funny thing is, and the kind of cool part is, this sounds like just like how Monero works in a very simple way to understand, is when you send someone. So Monero makes a fake address, like a fake sending address, so that no one can see that on the blockchain, and then it does its ring signatures where one output is correct and the rest are decoys. So the address is like kind of like sealed and privately sealed. The recipient's address is privately sealed, and then the decoys kind of like also protect the transaction part as well. People hear that though, they're like 16 transactions. I can guess that, but in reality, it's not that simple. Even if you did, you essentially have to still don't have the real information of the sender and the receiver, because it makes a temporary outputs address is what I would call it, I guess. Application okay. Each application received by the authority contains all the information required for the acceptance destination, a special address, digital letter, whose message is the public key K. The applicant's purposed pseudonym, in this case of the single mix. These are letters are in the form of K1, R1, K, and for cascading mixes, they are the form of KN, RN, K2, R2, K1, K1, K. The authority will form an applications that it accepts, and this input batch will be supplied to a special cascade whose final output batch will be publicly available. Since each entry in the final output batch of the cascade is public key K, from an accepted applicant, the signed output of the final mix is a roster of digital pseudonyms. Each application digital pseudonyms. Okay. Notification of applicants can be accomplished by also forming a roster of unaccepted applications that then using the technique of certified mail to return a single batch of recipients to both sets of applications. Of course, repeats must not be allowed within across the batches. If only registered voters are accepted for a particular roster, then it can be used to carry out an election. For a single mix, each voter submits a ballot in the form of K1, R1K, invite K, CV, where K is the voter's pseudonym and V is the actual vote. For a cascade mixes, ballots are in the form KN, RN, K2, blah, 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 blah. The ballots must be preceded as a single batch and as were the letters used to form the rosters. Items in the final lexicographically ordered output batches are the form of K, invite K, CV, since the roster of registered voters is also ordered on K. It is easy for anyone to count the votes by making a single pass through both batches at once. Each ballot is counted only after checking that the pseudonym K, which forms its prefix, is also contained in the roster, and that pseudonym properly decrypts the signed voter V, the signed vote V. It is kind of interesting to think about why voting is public too. Like, why isn't there a way to make it private and verifiable? Okay, it can only, if only registered voters accept a particular roster. An individual might be known as to an organization only by a pseudonym. An individual might be only known to an organization only by a pseudonym that appears in the roster of accepted clients. Clients can be corresponded with the organization via untraceable mail, and the organization can be corresponded with the clients using untraceable return addresses. If the applicants identify themselves in their applications, or if they sign the applications with the pseudonym that appears to be the roster issued by an authority that requires identification, then the organization is assured that the same client cannot come to under a different pseudonym. Under special circumstances, such as the default of payment, a particular pseudonym could be shown to correspond a particular application without revealing any other core dependencies if each mix in turn supplied the appropriate RN. General purpose mail systems. One way to construct a general purpose untraceable mail system is to require that every message pass through a cascade. Of course, mixes can operate continuously on a periodically, and long messages will be encrypted first and then split into multiple items. In order to hide the number of messages sent, each participant supplies the same number of messages to each batch, some of which might be randomly addressed dummies. In order to hide the number of messages received, each participant privately searches the entire output message directly into it. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool. Such system approved. Okay, here we go. General purpose mail systems. One way to construct a general purpose mail untraceable mail system, of course, in order to hide the number. Such a system may prove too costly for some participants. One way to reduce the cost is to allow mail to be addressed to a subset of participants, such as a local NAT. Participants that take advantage of such arrangements need search only the mail addresses to a particular subset. Another way to economize is for a participant to send for each batch only the number of dummy messages suggested by a random value chosen from some suitable distribution, as opposed to always sending the maximal number of messages. This could substantially reduce the message traffic and consequently the size of the output batches. While these techniques may have opened doors to some kind of statistical attack, the system size that necessitates them may reduce the effectiveness of such attacks. In large, general-purpose mail systems with many mixes, it may be impractical for every message to pass through every mix. In such a case, a sequence of mixes will be selected for each message, perhaps on the basis of network topology or trust. Notice that if a participant can choose mixes it trusts with its traffic volume data as early members of its sequence, then these mixes can discard dummies they receive from the participants and deliver small fixed-size batches padded with dummies directly to the participant. A new kind of mix will be present here that allows a sequence of mixes to be selected for each message. It also hides the number of hides the number and identity of the mixes a message that passes through. B allows incrimination of the mix that does not properly forward items, and C, makes no distinction between regular mail and mail sent by the untraceable return address. It is based on the idea that every item of mail is composed of the same number of fixed size blocks. The operations performed by this new kind of mix are always the same. First, it removes the first block and adds a random block J of junk to the end and maintains the item's length of L block. Then, using its private key, the mix decrypts the block removed during the first step. This yields the key R, which the mix uses to encrypt each of the L blocks of the item. Using the public key conventional cryptography, it also yields the address of either recipient on the mix which item will be forwarded. The left-handed side of the following shows how an item is prepared to pass through a single mix. Some words, numbers. Where the sequence brackets show the extent of each block, and the sealed message KA R0M is divided into pieces MI, such that the left-handed side is delivered to the mix A1, and the A means that the right-hand side is delivered to address A. Items with the same first block should be regarded as repeats. An intermediate mix always knows which mix is received its input from by assumption 2. If a mix broadcasts copies of its fixed size to the output batches, the only individual recipient mixes need to be able to recognize their own input and broadcast batch. The untraceable return address X sends Y to contains. I'll help my favorite undercover Fed. Oh, nice. There better be no one else. Okay, leaving X. Okay, more man. Okay, summary and conclusion. The interpreter. Okay, a solution to the traffic analysis problem has presented that allows any single intermediary to prove security through those messages passing through it. In addition, the solution allows messages to be sent or received pseudonymously through the notion of a roster of pseudonyms. It provides some new and interesting kinds of limited anonymity. Acknowledgements. I owe a great deal to the Archivist Library, but I don't accept it. Okay, nice. Cool, based. Talking about fucking insane math. The Free Haven project aims to deploy a system of distributed anonymous persistent data storage which were robust against attempts by powerful entities to find and destroy any stored data. This model of decentralized systems has been classified as peer-to-peer by recent popular media. Main research goals for the Free Haven project. Something kind of cool to read. Freehaven.net. Okay, let's see. Peer-to-peer anonymity. We try to meet the goal for all parties: the publishers that insert documents, readers that retrieve the document, service accountability. The Free Haven project began in December of 1999 as a research project initially comprised of several MIT students designed, implemented, and deployed a functional data haven. We put it onto the back burner for now because it still has four main unsolved problems. The regulatory system is tricky and won't work. We need to replace the gossip credibility system with a mechanism for verified tracking. See the draft paper for more details. Retrieval is currently broadcast, which is too efficient. We're winning to other projects worked on solutions here. We'll be picking our favorites. There is no anonymous communications infrastructure. This is the area we're focusing on for our current work in the direction. I'm also working on the second generation of onion routing. The incentive needs to be better aligned. This paper by George Diaz-Rust about how distributing files randomly over the network may be the wrong approach. This stuff's something like 2001. Non-discretionary access control for decentralized computing systems. In 1977. Limitations of end-to-end encryption in secure computer networks. Wow. Untraceable electronic mail. Networks without observability. Laboratory for Computer Science, Massachusetts Institute. This is kind of cool. A cached PDF. Oh. How many pages? Oh, that's a lot. That will be maybe. No. Let's see what they were doing. Let's see what they were doing in 2004. Which one? Where was it again? Probabilistic model for checking for an enemy systems, information hiding, enemy and privacy, a modular approach. That was 2004. What about 1969? Oh. Migration Flow, a new bandwidth inflation attack on Tor, attacking and improving Tor directory protocols. Pudding, private user directory in anonymity networks. Our continuous stops and go makes nets probably secure. Provable security for the onion routing. Stop, don't click here anymore. Net Sharper, a different priority network side channel. Detour, padding only traffic. Do you see what I see? Raptor, routing attack. Oh yeah, I remember Raptor. That was kind of interesting. Security out of safe, effective attacks and probable defense. Building incentives into Tor, using Sphinx to improve onion routing, cryptographic protocol analysis of Anon. There's even some. How much anonymity does network latency leak? 2010. 8 agents been secure peer-to-peer bandwidth evaluation. Anonymity in electronic society. A survey of anonymous communication cylinders. That was 2009. The Byzantine Postman problem. A trivial attack against PR-based news servers. 2007. While we were listening to cool beats in 2007, a random walk-based anonymous peer-to-peer protocol design. How to achieve blocking resistance on existing system name anonymous web serving. Lots of thinking back in the early 2000s. Let's do 2000. When did we become really digitally? The Freehaven Project distributed anonymous storage service, workshop on design anonymity and observability in July 2000. Towards analysis, a pseudonymous communications infrastructure for the internet. An optimally robust. Okay, when did the Snowden links kind of happen? Because that'd be kind of interesting. Okay, 2013. And then we can 11, 12. Why I'm not an entropist. Message in a bottle, sailing past censorship. We are a lightweight incentivized routing for anonymity. R bridge. Use reputation based on Tor bridges distributed with privacy preserving. An numerical evaluation of relay selection in Tor. Preventing side channel leaks in web traffic, a formal approach. I want my voice to be heard. IP over voice over IP for unobservable censorship circumvention. Yeah, I wonder if voice over IP is more, I guess, anonymous when it comes to communications, especially if it's encrypted and it needs less of maybe a connection, like a constant location connection or whatever. Trawling for Tor hidden services, detection, measurement, de-anonymization. The parrot is dead. Observing unobservable network communications. Pisces, anonymous communication using social network. I want to. Okay, we're gonna do that one. That one seems interesting. The need for flow fingerprints to interleave correlate network flows. Plug and play IP security and anonymity infrastructure instead of PKI. You cannot hide for long. De-anonymization of real-world dynamic behavior. Improve websites fingerprinting on Tor. Yeah, that didn't go anywhere. Scrambled Suit, a polymorphic network protocol to circumvent censorship. Thinking inside the black box. Smart protocols for faster anonymous blacklisting. I will say that protocols are becoming more popular because it's harder to censorship protocols and there could be less of an anonymous risk of it. Users get routed traffic Tor correlation. Protocol mystification made easy with format translating. Cover your acts. Pitfalls of covert channel recognition. PCTCP per circuit TCP over IPsec transport for anonymous communications overlay network. Hang with your buddies to resist intersection attacks. Systemization of pluggable transport for censorship resistance. The sniper attack, anonymously de-anonymizing and disabling the Tor network. No direction home. The true cost of routing around decoys, decentralization, anonymous credits. This is the year of Monero's release. Why Johnny can't blow the whistle. Identity defending and reducing usability issues in enemy systems. Challenges in protecting Tor hidden services from botnet abuse. On the effectiveness of traffic analysis against enemy networks using flow records. Exploiting delay patterns. I know why you went to the clinic. Risk and realization of HTTPS traffic analysis. Oh wow. Do dummies pay off? Limits of dummy traffic protecting circumvention. Dovetail. Strong anonymity in the next generation internet routing. What do I know about that? Why do I feel like I remember that? Measuring FreeNet in the wild. Censorship resilience under the observation. Cloud transport using cloud storage for censorship resistant networking. That's kind of cool. I like people that use. There was a paper I read about a guy who figured out how to store something in DNS cache, like his fucking photos or something. They're finding out how to use DNS cache as a storage medium for distributed, decentralized storage provider, and I think it was for free. I mean, someone did it with YouTube. They used YouTube as a storage medium. They found a way to upload all their photos to YouTube as video format. And they made a tool. You can do it. I don't know if it works now. But it's kind of cool. It's cool when people find that. Never been kissed. Tor's consensus management blossoms with kernel. Information stack of transport. Tap dance. End to middle anti-censorship without flow blocking. 2015. Blocking resistant communications through domain fronting. Playing the guard, an entry guard based payment system for Tor. Oh, paying the guard. Interesting. Huh. On the impossibility of effective self-stabilization in a virtual overlays with churn. 2000 in leagues under the sea, anonymous communication, trust, MLATs, and under cables. Oh, guard set for onion routing. Defending Tor from network adversaries is a case study for network path. Okay. Well, is this... it doesn't look that long. It's 17 pages. But before we will go on some interesting sites. Where's Bob? Where's the bitch Bob? Bob I2P. There we go. No. The conversation. Academic commentary and essays. File sharing and copyright news. Oh, there we go. No. There we go. My man Bob. Yo. Club. Critical Commons. Dank. Dark. Seen a kitty. Huh. Maybe it's this blog is dedicated our activities on the broader field of cybersecurity. Coming soon. What happens to GRC when two organizations merge? Huh. Okay, seems kind of empty. There is a Blossom server. Contact stir fry. Please use a Nostr client to connect. Oh. Interesting. Radio Nerds, Cubes, Queer Chan. There's always the funny people that put their stuff onto I2P. Blog. Hello there. You might be tempted to ask, what's the point of having a blog on the dark net? I feel like I need to have some kind of space to express myself freely. a place which isn't a diary and where I can write about anything I have on my mind. I want to be disconnected from the ClearNet presence and identity as much as possible. I want to be able to share personal conclusions while maintaining a certain level of anonymity, which is a rare thing these days. Having summed up those criteria, I think about the Darknet blog as a reasonable choice. The fact that it's all on Tor and I2P network means that only who received the link will be able to access the site. This gives me the ability to share this with anybody pursuing obscurity from the public. At the same time, speaking of the link, your browser should show one of the followings. LB32. Register. Yeah. See. Interesting. Nice. Cool, actually. The site was published on the Tor network first because its accessibility for the average user, or at least more accessible than I2P, which can be pretty tricky setup. I wouldn't say it's a tricky setup. It just doesn't. I mean, all you got to do is just download the bundle. Like, you just got to download I2P, go to your about config, and point your browser to look at the I2P server running. I don't think it's tricky. I guess it's two more steps, a couple more steps than the browser bundle. I just don't. My biggest problem, yeah, there's no just download this browser and it just works. That'd be cool. But I think I2P is kind of different. I2P isn't really to surf the internet. It's to see the sites that are on there and like peer to peer, and everyone's kind of like peer to peer the network. So I wouldn't say I2P is trickier, but it's just more steps. More steps doesn't equals trickier. Okay. This site was published over the technical side. Personally, I'm a tech enthusiast, so apart from the site being a blog, it's a hobby project on its own. The server-side rendering engine is being built be me from the foreground up. I take pleasure in it. You can read how much it works here. Okay. Tech status, design principles, post, Morpheus, 2023. Progress on the comment system. I switched to Git, a FOSS-Git web server. Nice, that's based. Rust engine. All right, I'm out. It's a femboy. I decided to build everything from the ground up. Here's the scheme: Tor, Nginx. Is it Nginx? Yeah. Rust engine, server-side rendering. First, the server was. Yo, what up, man? Sorry, guys. Rust involved, so remember to leave. Programming sucks. Immediate. Rust engine. Server-side rendering. First, the server-side retrieves the relevant markdown document, which is then processed in the first pass of the template engine. Then it gets parsed to converted into HTML. After that, the field passes on the templating engine, and takes place, yielding the final document. Markdown files with the website time, post, templates, legend. Site generation. The server executable is built on top of. When I was learning more about Rust, I remember this. This is used in a lot of like websites and websites using like. I believe that, if I remember correctly, this is a way to get websites built in Rust, like blogs and shit. Everything is done at runtime. MD files are read and parsed with the needed base HTML, HTTP paths, thus changes our application instantaneously. No need to rebuild the site like if you would with a static site generator. Damn! I love static site generators. I'm a huge fan of Hugo. Hugo's really based. Markdown, HTML conversion are powered by Comrack. This seems like a lot of work for this site. Just fucking use Hugo, man. Templating engines create for the purpose of websites are called Morpheus. It's fairly functional as it is, but many more features are planned. It's company's custom write letter parser, ATS evaluation. You can learn more about here. Common system sections are powered by. I should build a Darknet blog where people can comment. I'm not really a programmer, but I could do I know how to do Hugo and Jekyll. I've done Jekyll before. And just have a static, find a VPS in a country that hates the United States, which is a lot. So they I don't gotta worry about them getting taken down, and just kind of host it there over Tor, and just think of the most schizophrenic writing on the planet and just throw it on there. Guys, this is guys, this is the lizard people that you were talking about. Just have every single time I find a conspiracy about people that have been cloned, and just put him there. What up, Evil Dojo? 6666? 666666666. Okay, not Bob Lives Here. Okay, cool blog. Very interesting to find. Early beginnings. Wow, created in 2023. We gotta find older blogs. Not Bob Live Here. Definitely very cool. Red Lib. Yeah, I2P is very interesting because I feel like there you could find a lot of cool sites on here. What does this mean? Oh, it's a forum. Shiner on security. I do want to Schizoid I2P, and it's a search engine. All right, that's cool. What is this? Conspiracy. All right, I'm in. I'm locked in. I'm locked in, guys, but we're going to go back to IP over voice over IP for unobservable censorship circumvention. This paper was written around a certain time. I will say that definitely thank you for everyone joining and listening to me rant and think, because that's what it's about. Ranting and thinking, getting the gears turning, and we will continue. Whew. How am I going to read this? Oh, I think it's page by page. Abstract. Open communication over the internet poses a serious threat to countries with repressive regimes, leading them to develop and deploy censorship mechanisms within their networks. Unfortunately, existing censorship circumvention systems face difficulties in providing unobservable communications with their clients. This highly limits the availability, as censors can easily block access to circumvention systems, making the observable communication patterns. Moreover, the lack of unobservability may pose a serious threat to their users. Recent research takes various approaches to tackle the problem. However, they introduce new challenges and provide unobservable is breakable. This is something to put into consideration, especially if you live in Freedomville or aka Burgerland. We do have a problem with surveillance, but censorship, kind of yes and no. But I can download Tor, and that fundamentally protects me, in a sense, to the highest level and extreme, to make sure that I am operating at the most secure level that I can. I can download Tor. I don't have to worry about being like having no access to it. And because I have access to Tor and I don't got to think about censorship, we could look at just a list of a list of countries where censorship is high. Now we're going to use Wikipedia or something. Fuck you. So free of press report. We could just free press report. North Korea obviously is the worst. Everyone's like, China? Have I introduced you to my friend North Korea? Turkmenistan? Where the fuck is that? Free press report. Where is Turkmenistan? What the hell? Turkmenistan is a landlocked country in Central Asia bordered by Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan to the north, Afghanistan to the southeast, Iran to the south and southwest, and Kapsan Sea to the west. It is one of the 6 independent Turkic states, and over. Goddamn, man, never heard of this place. Social filtering, on political filtering per. No, it's also known as Burma. In the beginning of 2012, the government began to relax the censorship policies. China, 85. Vietnam, Yemen, Palestine, and a lot of Asian countries. Then we get to Freedomville. Have you noticed like most of the free countries are, I would not say Israel. I think this is the one that's illusioned. Go make fun of Israel. See how that works out for you. Ghana. I believe that something's going on with Mehmet right now. It's pretty insane. There's some like crazy shit going over there. They're like Mali, Japan. So obviously Norway, Sweden, Europe. The U.S. Czech Republic, Costa Rica, Canada. It's interesting. The more Kazakhstan, Eurasia, European Asia. What the fuck is Eurasia? Wow, interesting. So. Link to censorship in country article. Link to internet censorship in country article. Okay. Internet censorship. Let's We can see free, partly free, no change, declined, improved. Freedom of the net survey results. Starting 2000, okay. 2014 reports assessed that 65 countries reported 36 countries experienced a negative trajectory into internet freedom since previous year, with the most significant declines in Russia, Turkey, and Ukraine. According to the report, a few countries demonstrated any gains in the internet freedom, and the improvements that we recorded reflected less vigorous applications of existing controls rather than new steps taken towards governments to actively increase internet freedom. The year's largest improvement was recorded in India, where restrictions to content and access were relaxed from has been imposed in 2013 to stifle rioting in the northeastern states. Notable improvements also recorded in Brazil, where lawmakers approved the bill Marco Civil da Internet, which contains significant provisions governing net neutrality and safeguards privacy protection. Oh, that's kind of cool. Countries free, partly free, approved. Okay. We can even look at a map. Pervasive censorship and or surveillance, substantial censorship surveillance, selective censorship surveillance, changing solution, little to no censorship surveillance. I could say, yeah, I could go on the internet and could be like, oh my god, they put Russia in there. Is that Russia? I was like, if Russia's not classified, not classified, no data. Yeah. I mean, U.S. has got its problems, but definitely, I don't know, definitely like much better than I think people make it out to be. Why is there so much white? Maybe this is yeah, there's probably some insane countries that have. Where's North Korea? North Korea sounds like. I'd like to go there just once. Internet censorship and surveillance by country. Okay. Okay, no. Alright, so now that we understand that, censorship in a lot of countries is pretty prevalent and pretty high. It's not fun. When you have to think and worry about where you're getting information, I think the U.S. is kind of heading in that direction. AI is not making that any better or believable, especially if your current government is looking into incorporating AI into the government, which I don't think should even be allowed at almost any standpoint, because you essentially then you are paying your tax dollars to these fuckers to not do anything. They almost become even way more worthless. And the fact that all these government contracts are getting in bed with Palantir, the giant shithole database that wants to be the everything database where everything's in one basket. This is why I really don't like Twitter, because Elon Musk has said it before. He wants it to be the everything app. He wants everything to be there, all contained in one spot. That's not good. It's just like WeChat in China. It's not even remotely a good idea. And it's not gonna really be a way to. There's not gonna be a really way to stop it, unless something changes. So, unfortunately, existing such system face difficulties in providing communication with their clients. To this highly limits their availability, as sensors can easily block access to circumvention systems that make observable communication patterns. Moreover, the lack of unobservability may pose serious threats to their users. Recent research takes various approaches to tackle the problem. However, they introduce new challenges and provide unobservability as breakable. In this paper, we propose an easy-to-deploy, unobservable censorship-resistant infrastructure called FreeWave. FreeWave works by modulating a client's internet traffic into acoustic signals that are carried over voice-over IP connections, such as VoIP connections that are targeted as server, the FreeWave server that extracts the tunnel traffic and proxies them to uncensored internet, and then the actual voice-over IP connections, as opposed to traffic morphing, allows FreeWave to relay its voice over internet protocol, voice over internet protocol connections through oblivious VoIP nodes, e.g., Skype supernodes. That's crazy. Skype. Hence, keeping the FreeWave servers unobservable and unblockable. In addition to the use of end-to-end encryption, which is mandated by most VoIP providers like Skype, prevents sensors from distinguishing FreeWave's voice-over IP connections from regular voice-over IP connections. To utilize the VoIP connections throughput effectively, we demonstrate communications encoded and tailored specifically for VoIP's lossy channels. We provide FreeWave over Skype, the most popular VoIP system. We showed that FreeWave is able to reliably achieve communication throughputs that are sufficient for web browsing, even when clients are far distance from the FreeWave servers. We also validate FreeWave's communication unobservability against traffic analysis and standard censorship techniques. That is fucking crazy to think about. Didn't Skype shut down? Yeah. Fucking F in the chat. Wow. F in the chat, man. For Skype. Introduction. The internet is playing an ever-increasing role in connecting people from across the world, facilitating the free circulation of speech, ideas, and information. This poses a serious threat to representative regimes as it elevates their citizens' awareness and provides them a powerful medium to arrange coordinated opposition movements. The recent unrest in the Middle East demonstrates the very strong power of the internet in arranging nationwide protests, in that several cases resulted in revolutionizing, overthrowing representative regimes. In response to such threats, representative regimes make use of different technologies to restrict and monitor their citizens' access to the internet, i.e. they censor the internet, censorship devices leveraging various techniques, ranging from simple IP address blocking and DNS hijacking to the more complicated and resource-intensive deep packet inspections, DPI. In order to enforce the blocking and monitoring, citizens identified as non-complying with the censor's restrictions can face different consequences, ranging from internet service disruption to severe life-threatening punishments. Yeah, that is something to definitely put into your... The last thing to think about is to put in your brain, you kind of don't know when... I mean, censorship is kind of like an interesting thought, because you don't know when you're generally being censored. If you live in a country your entire life, I think we should refrain from blaming people and more or less blame the government. some people can go through their entire life and not think that what their government is doing is wrong in terms of censorship. And free access to information, freedom of information, if you had kids, what would you teach them? Linux, so they get no bitches. I would teach them I would teach them the importance of free and open source software. Ew. Unfortunate news, guys. Someone bought a GMC train with Monero. No, a GMC Acadia. What an unfortunate buy. Where was that? Where was that? There we go. I should have been your kid. That'd be kind of funny. I'm your dad, actually, guys. I'm everyone's dad. I'm also everyone's FBI agent. True. Okay. And I think it's kind of like crazy to be sitting in the observable internet and think you could be like, say you were born in like a place like North Korea where a lot of the information is controlled, and you just go through your whole life thinking that this is what it is. This is all I'm ever fed. And you have never touched outside of your country's borders, the walls, or the internet. There is people say that like the propaganda is just made up by, like, Western U.S. and like it's like all just made up. But I mean, you could just observe it yourself. You don't need to, like, United States propaganda. The United States is not in the best place either with the fact that it's going in the direction of capital surveillance. We're heading into like an anti-free speech era where people's rights are kind of being infringed upon. So I'm not blind to the fact. The problem is there are people that are born in countries that are blind to the fact of not having these rights at all. They don't even know these rights exist. They just kind of believe what their country tells them, and they're like, oh, whatever, can't really say anything. I can think it, but I can't say it. You might be able to think it, but not saying. You might as well just go to having only internal thoughts, and that doesn't sound like a free society that I want to live in. I should be able to leave my house and tell people. I should be able to call my fucking congressman like a poop fart. I should just be able to go up to him and be like, poop fart butt retard. At any point in time, nothing should be able to happen to me. Or you look like Winnie the Pooh. Xi Jinping. And then having less access to your media and having state-controlled media means that they can rewrite history. They can just say whatever they want. They could be like, they could tell you that 9/11 was real when it obviously wasn't. I mean, that would be, terrible. But, I digress. To help censor users again open access to the internet, different systems and techniques have been designed and developed, generally referred as censorship circumvention tools. These systems are composed of computer and networking technologies that allow the internet users to even evade monitoring, blocking, and tracing of their activities. We observed that the biggest challenge facing the existing circumvention system is the lack of unobservability, where these systems can, under certain conditions, circumvent censorship if they're not effectively able to hide the fact that the users are making use of them. That's true. For instance, the Tor anonymity networks is not able to effectively evade censorship, as censors can block all the publicly advertised IP addresses of the Tor relays. This has two major consequences. First, users caught by censors leveraging these circumvention systems may face various punishments, such as imprisonment. Imprisoning. Second, and even more catastrophic, the lack of unobservability usually leads to the lack of availability. Circumvention systems with the observability of communications are essentially blocked by censors. Censors proactively look for internet services that help with censorship circumvention, either block or any access to them by their citizens, or leave them partially open to identify their users. In particular, censors rigorously look for IP addresses belonging to circumvention technologies, AGGs, HTTP, SOX proxies, and add them to the IP blacklist maintained by the censoring firewalls. Consequently, citizens under repressive regimes often find it difficult to access existing circumvention systems. For instance, the popular Tor network has frequently is blocked by several repressive regimes. This is something that I think that also people don't think about. Using tools that make you a criminal and making code and access to information criminal. That is insane. Now, I'm going to give you a perfect example. No. Italy censors proxies that bypass BitJunkie and Pirate Bay. Oh, okay. We're going to go back. We'll read some of those in a minute. You could theoretically, in reality, you could theoretically go on. So here's a perfect example. I went onto Tor once in a coffee shop, and the coffee shop knew I was using Tor. It wasn't blocked. It was blocked. I had to use bridges, Tor bridges, in order to connect to the internet because it was actively blocking me. And because it was actively blocking me, I couldn't use Tor. So the system, the network, knew whoever set up the router, etc., knew that Tor was there, and they knew I was trying to connect to Tor, and there was only way I could bypass it is using proxies. If Tor bridges to help obfuscate that I was not using Tor. What if I lived in a country that has a massive amount of cameras, and they're like, that person used Tor, we know it. This camera kind of knows it, we kind of figured it out, XYZ, and then bam, gets arrested, get a fine, however you want to look at it. So, thinking about the fact that Tor doesn't really hide that you're using Tor by default is concerning. And if it could be by default, if they found a way, why haven't they done it? Is it a network problem? Is it a limitation? Again, I'm not a developer, so this could be just not even possible. But what's the point of bridges? I mean, if bridges can obtain this, then what's the purpose? To provide an unobservable circumvention different approaches have been taken to the research community. Several systems provide unobservable by pure sharing secrets with their intended clients. The Tor system, for instance, has recently developed Tor bridges, which are volunteer proxies whose IP addresses are distributed among Tor users in a selective manner. This makes Tor bridges less prone to be identified by sensors as compared to the publicly adverse Tor entry nodes. However, there are serious challenges in distributing their IP addresses among users. In a similar manner, Infranet in college word aims for unobservability by pre-sharing some of the secret information with their user. This, however, is neither scalable nor effective, as it's challenging to share secrets with a large number of real users while keeping them secret from sensors at the same time. Another approach is providing unobservability. Several systems use various obfuscation techniques. For instance, UltraSurf and Phison try to confuse content filtering tools by obfuscating. What is this? Okay, we need to. I need to do this so I don't lose my spot. Oh my god. This seems so... A closed source freeware internet. Why would you want to use closed source software? Oh man. Stop asking me, Wikipedia. Damn, I'm memeing. Okay. UltraSurf is a closed-source freeware internet censorship circumvention product created by Ultra Research Internet Corporation. That sounds like an evil-ass fucking corporation. Like, no cap, that sounds like some evil corporation that is, like, just stealing all of your information and just selling it on the back end. Oh, man. These companies need to figure out some names, man. The software bypasses internet censorship and firewalls using HTTP proxy server and employs encryption protocols for privacy. The software is developed by two different groups, Falun Gong practitioners at the same time, and one's starting in the U.S. in 2002 by expatriate Chinese. The software was designed as a means of allowing internet users to bypass the Great Firewall of China. In 2011, Ultra Research claimed they have as many as 11 users worldwide. UltraSurf is a proprietary software. Critics in the open source commonly have expressed concerns about the software's closed source nature, alleged security through obscurity design. True. Government funding. UltraSurf received significant funding from the U.S. government. Originally, funding was provided through the U.S. State Department, as well as Broadcasting Broad of Governors, which administrates Voice of America, and Radio Free Asia. Wow, that's interesting. However, this funding was revoked due to UltraSurf's refusal to comply with independent security audits. Yikes! In 2020, Michael Pack was appointed as the head of U.S. agency Global Media by Donald Trump. The PAC and several conservative allies pushed for an additional funding for UltraSurf through a open technology fund. Despite the use of closed source code and low number of users, UltraSurf was awarded a $1.8 million funding under PAC despite the objections of several high-ranking officials who were subsequently fired. PAC's actions were later referred as the Inspector General of Department of State as a part of criminal conspiracy. What the fuck? And Inspector General of the Department of State. No, we're not going to look at that. Operation Technology Fund is an American nonprofit corporation that aims to support global internet freedom technologies. It is a mission to support open technologies and communicates that increased expression, circumvents censorship, and oh wow, ew, yikes. UltraSurf servers. The software works by creating an encrypted HTTP tunnel between the user's computer and the central server proxies. Evaluation. Some technologists have expressed reservations about Ultra Reach model. However, in particular, its developers have been criticized by proponents of the open source software for not allowing peer review of the tool's design, except the discretion of its creators. Moreover, because Ultra operates all its own servers, there's developments have access to user logs, and architecture means that users are required to trust Ultra Reach not to reveal data. Ultra Reach maintains that it keeps its logs for a short period of time and uses only for the purpose of analyzing traffic for signs of interference or monitoring over performance. According to Jacob Alpman in the Tor project, this essentially amounts to an example of privacy by policy, which, privacy by policy is not good because you can change policies, you can't change, principle, I guess, if you want to get technical. It is kind of interesting for this to be touted, and then it got in government funding. That's kind of insane in 2020. Yikes! As a part of a criminal conspiracy, PAC's actions were later referred as the Inspector General of the Department of State as part. Okay, Michael Pack. This guy looks like a criminal. Ooh. All right. Nope. Gotta read that later because it's huge. All right. Wow. Oh, interesting. So, back. What was this? I think I know what this is. Oh, free and open source though. Secure high performance Siphon provides open access to the uncensored internet for millions of people around the world with hundreds of more than a VPN. Where other VPNs can't connect, Siphon will find a way, keeping you connected. Free and open source based. Interesting. Is a free and open source internet censorship circumvention tool that uses combination of secure communications and obfuscation technologies such as a VPN, SSH, and web proxy, essentially managed in geographically device network thousands of proxy servers using a performance-oriented single and multi-hop routing architecture. But how do they make money? Yeah, the Myanmar. Oh man, Myanmar is a crazy fucking country. If you want to talk about a crazy, like insane, unknown thing, the Myanmar like government is insane. Yeah, like that's its own rabbit hole to go down to. I didn't even know this country existed. Yeah. I think they're having a civil war. I think they have a big thing going on right now. And there's something going on right now that is not good. I think I was reading in the news. So if you talk any to ladies on the internet that are from Myanmar, they're sad, brother. Ain't real. Okay. For instance, UltraSurf and Siphon try to confuse content filtering tools by obfuscating their design and traffic patterns such as obfuscation. However, it jeopardizes user security as analyzed in a recent study. Applebaum et al. Proposed pluggable transports for Tor, a platform that allows one to build protocol-level obfuscation plugins for Tor traffic. That would probably be a better option because you can't really block protocols. You can block platforms. For traffic. These plugins obfuscate a Tor's client's traffic to the Tor bridges by shaping it to look like another protocol that is allowed by sensors, like Obfusc Proxy. In the first Tor pluggable transport, it adds an additional layer of encryption to Tor's traffic to obfuscate Tor's connections identifiers, like the TLS parameters. However, it does not remove Tor's statistical patterns like packet timings and size. Murdoch et al. Mentioned several weaknesses for Obfusc Proxy, including being susceptible to either an active or passive attacker who has recorded the initial key exchange. Saratogas provides better unblockability, but it comes with a much higher overhead. Skype morphs Tor traffic into Skype video calls in order to make it undetectable against deep packet inspection and statistical analysis. The common issue with the aforementioned traffic obfuscation techniques is that they only obfuscate communication patterns but not the end-to-end host. In other words, while sensors may find it hard, no. Find it hard to detect obfuscation traffic using traffic analysis. It will be able to identify end hosts that obfuscate traffic through other active passive attacks, e.g., Skype Morph and Saratogas. Ceratoas relays can be enumerated using prevalent port knocking techniques, zigzag attack, and insider attack. Once the identity of the circumvention ended host is known to a sensor, the unobservability is completely lost and the end host is easily blocked by the sensor. Sensor Spoofer is another recent proposal that performs traffic obfuscation by mimicking VoIP traffic like most of the other designs noted above. Sensor Spoof needs to pre-share some secret information with the clients posting a scalability challenge. In addition, requires acquires upstream channel for its operation since the circumvented traffic is unidirectional. Another recent trend, several proposals have sought unobservability by integrating circumvention into the internet infrastructure. For instance, Telex and Serapide conceal the circumvention traffic inside the regular HTTPS traffic thanks to friendly ISPs that deflect and manipulate the interception connections. The real-world deployment of such circumvention systems requires collaboration of several trusted ISPs that make software and/or hardware modifications to their infrastructure. This does not seem to be realized in the short term until there are enough financing, political motives for the ISPs. Moreover, a recent study shows that an adversary is capable of changing the routing decisions, is able to block these systems. In this paper, we propose FreeWave, a censorship circumvention infrastructure that is highly unobservable, hence highly available. The main idea of FreeWave, as shown in the figure 1, is to tunnel internet traffic inside a non-blocked VoIP communications by modeling them into an acoustic signals that are carried over VoIP connections. For a censored user to use FreeWave, the circumvention needs to set up a VoIP account with a public VoIP provider. Also, to install FreeWave's client software on her machine. Why'd they say on her machine? Are they assuming that only women use this? I'm triggered. There we go. Part of the FreeWave's system is a FreeWave server that listens on several publicly advertised VoIP IDs. To serve FreeWave clients to make a FreeWave connection, a user's FreeWave client software makes a VoIP connection to the FreeWave server's voice over IP. The idea is the clients and server then the tunnel circumvented internet traffic inside the established VoIP connections by modulating network packets into acoustic signals carried by established VoIP connections. That is pretty fucking neat. Like, I've always wondered if voice over IP is more efficient at being encrypted, private, etc. I am looking at a self-hosted solution for running my own quote-unquote 5G/4G network. It is possible, kind of expensive, but very cool, and you can use off-the-shelf stuff to do it. I don't think you need a license, but it kind of depends on what country you're on and what you're also doing. But I'm just going to grab some water, and I'll be right back. Ooh, okay, I'm back. I would even say like living without a phone number is probably like very difficult. Like in the average like 2022 or 2025 or whatever modern time it is. I think it's definitely doable, but if you could switch to like a VoIP provider, there is this called GMP Chat. It's pretty cool apparently. To use GMP Chat, most people install the Channelgram app. It is in the Play Store yet, but it's available on several other locations. Note you can use the entire sign-up process from including getting Jabber ID with no need to visit the website. We have posted a guide. Yes and yes, it is free. The procedure is the same as for any other number. You just yes and yes. Layer top-ups. It's not a video, but it's possibly better than one you can scroll through. Okay, so like yeah, GMP Chat's pretty active, pretty based. And let me see them. Oh. Jabber call maintenance. Wow, they even 19 days ago. eSIM nicknames updates in K3 months ago. You can review Google Play updates. Yeah, kind of cool. No, it's not any filters. I need to check out. This would be cool to like just run as like a way to like receive stuff, but I digress. All right. Going back. We claim that FreeWave provides strong unobservability by performing two kinds of obfuscations: traffic obfuscation and server obfuscation. First, as FreeWave tunnels internet traffic inside an actual encrypted VoIP connections, its traffic patterns are hard to be distinguished from being VoIP connections. Traffic obfuscation is also aimed for by recent morphing-based techniques like Skype Morph and Saratogas. However, FreeWave provides stronger traffic obfuscation as it completely runs through the target protocol instead of partially imitating it. That's kind of cool. Provided it completely runs in the target. In this, the second obfuscation performed by FreeWave, which is unique to the FreeWave, is server obfuscation, which prevents sensors from detecting circumvented traffic by matching the destination address of the traffic. Server obfuscation is an important feature that is similar to circumvention systems such as Skype Morph and Saratogas fail to provide. As we describe later in this paper, the way FreeWave servers is connected to the internet, resulting in getting FreeWave's VoIP traffic relayed by various oblivious VoIP peers, preventing a censored form of block identifying FreeWave's VoIP traffic based on IP addresses. For instance, FreeWave connections made through Skype get relayed by Skype supernodes, which is super based, actually. And if you kind of think about it, I don't know if this service is still around or not. This is from 2013. The other services are around, so I'm assuming this may be still around. If it is, kind of cool. I don't want to spoil alert it for myself. I want to figure it out if it is and or isn't around. It'd be kind of cool if it was. But if it's not, then I'm just reading a paper of past cool ideas. No spoiler alerts. Let me figure it out for myself. I would even say that in hindsight, that's what makes the Requiem network and Meshtastic. People say there's no use for it. There kind of is a use for it. It doesn't require any license, so it makes it somewhat pseudonymous. The encryption is getting better. Sending packets is becoming more obtainable. I know people are like, I don't see a use for it. It's shit. It's like, what use case are you looking for? It requires no license and it can work on cheap, inexpensive hardware. That's huge. If you are a ham radio operator, you have to get a license. If you're a GMSR radio operator, you have to get a license. I don't know how other countries work, so I'm not going to speak on them, but I think it's a good option to have in terms of being license free, and it's got a really good open source development company and open source develop community that embraces learning about how LoRa works. Now, LoRa is kind of proprietary, so it's, I think LoRa is proprietary somewhere. I just can't remember where. It's a licensing thing. So it is something to think about in perspective. You can go get boards for like $50-$60 and start using it. Very simple. Very easy to understand. You don't got to do any like fucking channel programming, nothing. Just works. Do I think it's a replacement for ham radio? No, but I think people are conflating to that. They're coming to that insane conclusion, but that's just my opinion. I think they come to this conclusion that, like, oh my God, people are going to use Meshtastic for important secure communications, and when a tornado blows out my fucking my fucking neighborhood. No, but it does come in use when you don't have a license and you don't when you live in a country where that might be a problem. But I digress. We're going to look at some shots. So you have censoring internet service provider, encrypted voice connections, encrypted VoIP connection, connection, uncensored internet. So oblivious intermediate VoIP nodes, e.g. Skype, supernodes, encrypted voice, firewall, FreeWave server, HTTP connect. FreeWave sounds like some shit. FreeWave does sound like some shit that you would get off of. FreeWave 100% sounds like shit you would download on LimeWire and you would get a virus from. So, Skype supernodes, which are oblivious Skype users residing outside the censorship region. As another example, if FreeWave uses Google Voice, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy to even think about. FreeWave connections will get relayed by Google servers that are oblivious to the circumvention protocol process server obfuscation. Obfuscation, as defined above. The missing in all previous designs except sensor spoofer. For instance, in the case of Tor pluggable transports like SkypeMorph and Saratogas, once the IP address of the deploying Tor bridge is revealed to the sensor, e.g. using port knocking, the unobservability is lost and the sensor will be able to identify/block users connecting to the Tor bridges. In FreeWave, on the other hand, even if the sensor identifies the IP address belonging to a FreeWave server, it will not be able to block connections since its users' connection to the FreeWave server are not direct connections, but are relayed through varying oblivious VoIP nodes. We provide thorough comparison with FreeWave with similar obfuscation-based techniques in section 4? In section 4? Is that section 4? For my Roman numerals homies? I think it is. The strongest unobservability of FreeWaves makes it highly unblockable, i.e. available. FreeWave's availability is tied to the availability of the VoIP service, since the operation of FreeWave is not bound to a specific VoIP provider. In order to block FreeWave, a sensor needs to block all VoIP connections with the outside world. This is not desirable by censoring ISPs due to the different businesses and political implications. ISPs due to different businesses and political implications. VoIP continues as an important part of today's internet communications. In recent reports, shows that about 1/3 of U.S. businesses use VoIP solutions to reduce their telecommunications expenses, and the report predicts that VoIP penetration reached 79% by 2013 and 50% increase compared to 2009. Woo! What about 2023? 2025? We don't know. They probably weren't thinking that far ahead. Damn. Strong observability of FreeWaves makes it highly unblockable, i.e. available. FreeWave's availability is tied to the availability of VoIP service, since the operation of FreeWave is not bound to specific. Okay. Oh, wait. Yeah. Oopsies. Already read that. We implemented a prototype of FreeWave over the popular VoIP service Skype and measured its performance to achieve reliability communication over voice over IP connections. We designed a communication encoder and decoder tailored for the VoIP's lossy communication channel. Specifically, we take advantage of turbo code and QAM modulation techniques in order to reliably encode the circumvention traffic inside VoIP connections. Our evaluations show that FreeWave provides connections bitrate that are suitable for regular web browsing. We validate FreeWave's usability by clients that are geographically far away from a FreeWave server. Contributions in this paper, we make the following main contributions. We propose FreeWave, a novel infrastructure for censorship circumvention that works by modulating internet traffic into acoustic signals carried over voice over IP connections. The use of actual VoIP connections carried over VoIP connections. The use of actual VoIP connections, as well as being relayed oblivious VoIP nodes, provide promising unobservability of FreeWave. Wow. Basewave, I would say. It's like FreeBSD, but based. Which is cool. We prototype FreeWave on the popular VoIP service of Skype and evaluate its performance and security. The rest of this paper organized as follows. Section 2, we review our threat model and goals in designing circumvention systems. We describe the design of our proposed circumvention systems, FreeWave, in Section 3. In Section 4, discuss our design details. In Section 5, we discuss the features of our designed circumvention system, though we thoroughly analyzed the security of FreeWave in Section 6. And in Section 7, we describe the design of Modem, the communication block of FreeWave software. We described our prototype implementation in Section 8, and we evaluation result in Section 9. We compare FreeWave with two proposals of SkyMorph and SensorProof. In this followed edition, we relate the work in Section 10, and in Section 11, we discuss the FreeWave's limitations and several recommendations. Finally, the paper is concluded in Section 12, primaries. We assume that FreeWave client is connected to the internet through censoring ISP. Example, an ISP. Damn, I haven't had to read Roman numerals in a goddamn minute. Motherfuckers made me think about numbers. Goddamn numbers. Whew. We assume that an ISP that is controlled by a regulated by and regulated by a representative a repressive regime based on the regulations of the censoring ISP. Its users are not allowed to connect to certain internet destinations called the censored destinations. The users is also prohibited from using censorship circumvention technologies that would help them evade censoring regulations. The censoring ISP uses a set of advanced technologies to enforce censoring regulations, including IP address blocking, DNS hijacking, and deep packet inspections. The censoring ISP also monitors its users' network traffic to identify and block any users of censorship circumvention tools, traffic analysis, and can be used by the censor as a powerful technique for this purpose. And even more perspective and thought experiment is you have to remember if your ISP is hijacking your DNS, if you are using your ISP's router, you should probably get rid of it. And because you might change the DNS, but they might hijack your DNS. Like I had a Pi-hole with a long time ago. I tried setting up Pi-hole, and that Pi-hole instance wouldn't work because I was using my ISP's modem. They would override my decision making, and because they overrided my decision making, I essentially achieved nothing. I was running into. I was like, why am I running into all these issues? Why am I constantly having all these problems with DNS? DNS problem, like left and right. And then I realized, oh, I'm using my fucking ISP's modems for some stupid fucking reason. And it costs more. Not only it costs more, it's their modem shit. They suck. They're for like old people that like don't understand the internet, and they're afraid they're allergic to technology, and they're afraid to go buy a modem for $100 and save them money and have more control over their DNS. So once I got my own modem, my own router, my own switch, my own setup, then I ran Pi-hole and Unbound, and I was like, I'm free from the internet, baby. I'm unblockable. Which Unbound is pretty like Pi-hole is really awesome. I mean, the amount of ads it blocks. I mean, there's still use for a VPN, but the amount of ads it blocks is pretty awesome. And the faster web pages that load. Just miles ahead. I can go on whatever websites I want, brother. Alright. We assume that the censoring ISP enforces its regulations such as it does not compromise the usability of the internet for its users due to different political and economic reasons. In other words, they enforce censorship does not disrupt key internet services. In particular, we consider VoIP as a key internet service in today's internet, and we assume that even though a censor mainly blocks certain VoIP providers, the censor will not block VoIP services. VoIP continues a key part in the design of FreeWave. If you're obviously if your internet service provider is blocking VoIP, and you are essentially getting your cheeks clapped, and that is not good. Weirdly, my Tor connection does not work on Parrot all of a sudden. Wow, this is quite convenient. What up, Code Lang? Remember to like and subscribe. I need to Mr. Beast my way to becoming a millionaire. Well, you could, technically your ISP could circumvent and you could hit some wall where it's blocking your use of Tor. And it's because you use Parrot OS. Another reason. I will rewatch the stream from the start after you upload. After YouTube uploads. Remember, YouTube is the overlord. And don't forget to watch what's my watch time now? Fuck. I have to look. YouTube is funny. Oh, there we go. Don't forget, you have to watch exactly what's goddamn. I need the calculator. Two 945. No. Damn it. You need to watch 55 hours of straight content, no stopping. Actually, you need to go a step farther. I want to be able to earn money from short. What's 4,000 hours? T945. No, not PEMDAS. You need to watch 1,000 hours of my content. If you don't, you need to kill yourself. YouTube, in a video game. Not rewatch. Watch. I mean, I didn't really. I'm fucking with you. I'm kidding. I can't do it seriously. I can't. I directly run a Cumulum CLI command line from WSL terminal now. It's so much better than other hypervisors on Windows in my experience to now. Yeah, WSL is like direct. It's if you want native Linux on Linux, it's interesting. I discovered WSL once, and I looked into it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I was like, wait, I run Linux. Why do I care? What is even the date at? November 18th. Oh, there we go. Okay. We assume that the censoring ISP enforces its regulations, such as that it does not compromise the usability of the internet for its users due to differential political and economic reasons. In other words, it enforces censorship and does not disrupt key internet services. In particular, we consider VoIP as a key internet service. Today's internets, we assume that it's even though it's a censor may block VoIP providers, the censor will not block all VoIP provider services. VoIP constitutes a key part in the design of FreeWave design goals. We consider the following goals, design and evaluations in FreeWave. Later in Section 5, we discuss these features of the FreeWave circumvention system proposed in the paper and compare FreeWave with the relevant work. Unblockability. The main goal, I'm running QEM CLI command to visualize full Linux desktop environments. It's much better than using a VM manager through WSL. Oh, okay. Oh, you're like running it as if it was like native. Oh, cool. The main goal of essentially, okay. Unobservability. Unobservability is to hide users' utilizations of circumvention systems from censorship authorities, which is a challenging feature to achieve due to the recent advances in censorship technologies. The importance of unobservability is twofold. The first, observable circumvention can jeopardize the safety of a user who has been caught by the censor while using circumvention systems. Second, a weak unobservability commonly results in a weak unblockability. It allows sensors to move easily and identify, hence block traffic generated by the circumvention system. Security. Several security considerations should be made once analyzed circumvention system. The consideration includes users' anonymity, confidentiality, and privacy against various parties, including the censors, the circumvention system, and third parties. Deployment feasibility. An important feature of circumvention system is the amount of resources, e.g. hardware, network, and bandwidth required for it to be deployed in a real world. A circumvention system is also desired for dependencies on other systems and entities in order to make it more reliable, secure, and cost-effective. Quality of service. A key feature in making the circumvention system popular is practice the quality of service provided by the establishment circumvented connections. Two important factors are connection bandwidth and browsing latency. Wow, interesting to think about. Oh, oopsies. I spent the last 1.5 years. I was trying to get Pop Cosmic Desktop. 1.5 hours to get Pop Desktop to run its enhanced session mode on Hyper-V. Just to learn, MS weirdly specifically does not support. Bro, me with OpenBSD. So OpenBSD and FreeBSD do not work. Because of Arc GPU. And I found that out after trying to do BSD. I was mad. Okay. Ooh. Here we go. FreeWave scheme. In this section, we describe the design FreeWave censorship circumvention. Figure 1 shows the main architecture of FreeWave. In order to get connection through FreeWave, users install FreeWave client on her machine, which can be obtained from an out-of-band channel. Similar to other circumvention systems, the user sets up the installation FreeWave client by entering her own VoIP ID and also the publicly advertised VoIP ID of FreeWave servers. Once the FreeWave client starts up, it makes a VoIP audio call to FreeWave servers VoIP ID, as discussed in section 4B. The FreeWave server is configured in a way that the VoIP connections initiated by clients are relayed through various oblivious VoIP peers. Skype supernodes. This is key to security feature of FreeWave as it prevents a sensor from the blocking FreeWave's VoIP connections using IP addresses blocking. Also, since FreeWave's VoIP connections are end-to-end encrypted, the sensor will not be able to identify FreeWave's VoIP connections by analyzing traffic contents, e.g. by looking for the VoIP IDs. Using the established VoIP connection as a FreeWave client, circumvention censorship by modulating the user's internet traffic into acoustic signals that are carried over such VoIP connections. FreeWave servers demonstrates a client's internet traffic from received acoustic signals to proxies that demonstrate the traffic to requested internet destinations. FreeWave scheme. In this section, we described the design of FreeWave censorship circumvention. Figure 1 shows the main architecture of FreeWave. In order to get connection through FreeWave, users install FreeWave client, Wave ID, blah, blah, blah. Okay, configuration through that VoIP connections. Installation clients are relayed through various Skype supernodes. This is a key FreeWave client circumvent censorship. Okay. Components of FreeWave. In this section, we introduce the main elements used in the design of FreeWave client and server software. These first three components are used by both FreeWave clients and FreeWave server, while the fourth element is only used by the FreeWave server. VoIP client. VoIP client is a voice over IP client software that allows VoIP users to connect to one or more specific VoIP services. In 4B, we discuss the choices of VoIP services being used by FreeWave. Virtual sound card. The virtual sound card is a software application that uses a physical sound card installed on a machine to generate one or more isolated virtual sound card interfaces on that machine. A virtual sound card interface can be used by any application running on the host. Oh, very beautiful. All right, guys. I appreciate everyone stopping by, giving their input, and most importantly, sticking around. I will see you guys in the next live video. Definitely, we are going to continue this paper, especially on decentralized VoIP providers. I think it's kind of cool and kind of an interesting paper, but I will see you in the next live stream / video. Don't forget to put dish soap on your lawn and wash your grass because it is mandatory. I will see you guys all later.